It's that time of year when post CES we are getting more information and more releases from manufacturers of electronic hardware, especially TVs, and Philips have announced their premium sets, and we have more details here of the PUS9435 and the PUS9235. Now the differences between those two sets I will explain more about in a moment. So out of the gate, it's quite apparent that these are really high quality sets, starting at 43 inches, 55 and 65 inch versions, all launching with Bowers and Wilkins sound, which is really not something to be sniffed at. Bowers and Wilkins are a British high-end speaker manufacturer. Now, to see them in a commercial context and a commercial context that's outside their own domain, specifically in TVs, is something of a surprise. And I'm very curious indeed as to how deep their involvement goes and how good the soundbar is, which actually comes part of the TV package. Now, it comes as no surprise that these are 4K sets. They're going to be available from May and June 2020. And we've seen before with Philips, the TVs come, as we've seen before with Philips, the TVs come with their super cool Ambilight technology, which I'm a huge fan of. From having one of their 21:9 TVs, remember those, the huge sort of super wide, ultra wide format TVs? I had one of those a few years ago. Well, when I had one of those, it also had the Ambilight, and I was a huge fan. It worked really, really well. Now these sets, the new sets that are coming out this year, come with the P5 Perfect Picture Processing Engine, which sounds like a new processor, but in fact this processor just runs the backlight more effectively to enable better image quality. I'll talk a little bit more about the actual processor that's running the entire thing. Now there's also Micro Dimming Pro, Natural Motion and Ultra Resolution. As I mentioned, in terms of the actual processor that's running the whole show, there's been no upgrade from last year's 4th generation AI technology, but given that this worked really very well last year, perhaps they just simply couldn't improve on last year's processor. You don't get the P5 and the units processor confused, as I've said, with the backlight. They're both very different things. So there's a bit of confusion as to what does what, but basically there's no main new key processor. There's just a new processor that runs the backlight. Yeah, that's not confusing at all, is it, Philips? What is good to see, and I do wish more manufacturers would actually follow this lead, is that the TVs come with multiple HDR formats. Hooray for multiple format HDR formats. So the formats that they come with is HDR10, HLG, Dolby Vision and HDR10 Plus, which are the main HDR formats, and that's great. So no longer do you have to make do with one format when you can have them all here. The soundbar, developed as I said by Bowers and Wilkins, is a 2.1.2 setup. The sub is actually attached to the rear of the display and combined provide a Dolby Atmos experience. Now some of you may be aware of my thoughts on soundbar Atmos systems, and of which I'm pretty critical of them, but they are improving, but certainly don't expect things to be whizzing around your head as they would be in a real Atmos system. Interesting, the cloth on the soundbar is from Vadrat. I believe it's a silent K. Being in studios, production studios and sound recording studios, I've heard people mention it like that, but it could be that it has the K at the beginning. Who knows? But anyway, this fabric is used a lot within professional studios because they use it to surround their speakers, the front, sometimes, and the reason they use it is because it's hugely audio transparent. It doesn't affect the sound at all in any way, shape or form. So it's interesting that they've gone for a real high-end cloth just for the very front of the soundbar. All the sets work on Android 9 operating system. There's a very fancy remote control that has a leather cover for that sort of premium feel and experience. So to quickly run through the sort of the premium sets features, they're all 4K LCD and 3840 by 2160 with full FALD in 55 and 65 inches. There is also a third generation P5 educational engine. I don't know quite what they mean by that term. Perfect, I presume they mean it's a deep learning engine rather than educational engine. Perfect natural reality, SDR and HDR conversion, Dolby Bright mode, 3-sided Ambilight, Android 9 Smart TV OS, integrated Google Assistant, which also works with Alexa, and as I mentioned previously, the integrated 2.1.2 multi-speaker sound system. There's sort of a European design and feel to these products, so they're using real materials such as metal and leather and so on, and of course there's a new premium remote control with leather, and as I mentioned previously, I believe I mentioned it previously, can't remember now, but they're coming out in May and June 2020. Now the actual differences between the PUS9435 and the PUS9235 is the PUS9235 is the smaller version, the 43-inch version, and the tech behind that is that it uses only edge LED backlighting rather than an LED array that we see in the other sets, and the soundbar is just a 2.1, which is only 40 watts. These sets, again, as I mentioned, will be available in June 2020, but there's been no word at all on the pricing yet, but these, I would imagine, are likely to be quite expensive. So if you like this video, please consider giving me a thumbs up, and as that really helps my channel and of course this video. And talking of videos, if you like videos that provide peeks, leaks, hints, tips, reviews, calibrations and handy guides with a good dose of nerd thrown in, then please consider subscribing. And of course, if you do, don't forget to click the bell to be alerted of my next videos, which come out daily during the week. And I'll see you next time. Thanks again for watching.